It's always a bit of a puzzle for any business, isn't it? How do you really connect to the people who matter? Uh, how do you get beyond just selling things and actually build something, well, real?
Exactly. And well, today we've got some ideas that could act like a key, really, unlocking that deeper engagement and, ultimately a stronger business.
We're diving into the world of content marketing.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how just taking the time to thoughtfully create and share information stories, you could call them, how that can build genuine relationships. It's often in a way that traditional advertising just can't quite manage.
Totally agree. And we've got a great framework to explore today, 7 key areas, really distilled from some sharp thinking on content marketing. Think of them as super steps, maybe.
Super steps. I like that. Okay.
So we'll be looking at, first, knowing your awesome audience, really getting who you're talking to.
Crucial.
Then, making truly epic stuff, crafting content that actually grabs attention and gives value. Third, finding your special story, figuring out your unique angle, your niche.
Right, standing out.
Fourth, planning your story schedule like, setting up a consistent content calendar.
Keeps things rolling.
Fifth, sharing your stories everywhere, getting your content seen by the right people.
Can't just create it, gotta share it.
Sixth, checking if it's working wonders, measuring the impact, seeing if it's actually doing anything.
Ooh, reality check.
And finally, seventh, keeping your stories fresh and fun. Evolving your strategy so it doesn't get stale.
Gotta keep it alive.
Yeah. So our goal today is basically to give everyone listening a clear, concise grip on these concepts so you can take them and immediately start thinking about how they fit into your own work.
And it's worth remembering, these 7 things aren't just separate tactics, are they? They all link up. They form this interconnected system. Each step builds on the others, creating a whole strategy for engaging your audience meaningfully, supporting your bigger business goals.
Okay, so let's dive right into that first one. Knowing your awesome audience? I mean, it sounds basic, but if you don't know who you're talking to, how could you possibly say anything that, connects?
Exactly.
The material we're looking at really pushes this idea of audience personas. It kind of reminds me of knowing your friend's sense of humor before you tell a joke, right?
Yeah.
You want it to land.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy, actually. Creating effective content really does hinge on knowing who it's for. And these personas, they're a powerful tool for that. It's more than just basic demographics.
Yeah.
It's about digging into their motivations, their challenges, what kind of info they're actively searching for.
And when you really nail this, the benefits seem pretty obvious. You end up making stuff that directly hits their needs, solves their problems. Plus, you figure out where they actually hang out online so you're not shouting into the void on platforms they don't even use.
Yeah, wasting effort.
And it even gets the whole team, anyone creating content, on the same page.
Absolutely. When everyone has that clear picture of the target audience, the content just becomes so much more focused, more effective. It makes sure the message is consistent across everything you do.
Okay, but what's the flip side? What happens if you kind of skip this step, this knowing your audience bit?
Whoa.
The sources we looked at say you risk creating content that's just totally irrelevant. The example given was telling a fish a story about climbing trees.
Yeah, that paints a picture.
You also end up just scattering your efforts everywhere online without really connecting. And the whole thing can feel disjointed, no clear purpose.
And those consequences really just show how inefficient a generic approach is. If you don't understand your audience, your content marketing becomes a gamble, basically. A shot in the dark with a low chance of hitting anything.
So how are companies actually doing this well? What are the strategies? One key thing mentioned is actually talking to customers, doing interviews with recent buyers to really get their experience.
Listening conversations, yeah.
So a software company might chat with small business owners about their biggest headaches, Another tactic is identifying what they call priority initiatives, the top, say, 3 to 5 problems your ideal customers are urgently trying to fix.
Oh, okay.
Like a pet supply store might find out their older customers are really worried about finding pet-friendly places when they travel. That becomes a priority initiative.
Ah, right. So you focus your content there.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's building out those detailed personas, giving them names, backstories, making them feel like real people.
These methods all lean on research, don't they? Both talking to people, qualitative, and maybe looking at data, quantitative. By actually engaging with customers, analyzing needs, you get much richer insights.
Hmm.
And identifying those priority initiatives, that ensures your content tackles the most pressing stuff, offers immediate value. And good personas, they go beyond just who they are to why they make decisions. Psychographics, not just demographics.
Okay, so on the other hand, what are the common mistakes? What do companies do wrong when they don't focus on the audience? The material points out that some just create content based on what they think is important internally, which might totally miss the mark for customers.
Yeah, the internal echo chamber.
Others rely on really broad, high-level info that doesn't connect specifically. And then there are those just winging it, guessing who their audience is.
Those mistakes often come from looking inward, right? Focusing on the product or the service instead of outward, on the customer. Companies get so wrapped up in what they do, they forget to understand the customer's world. And guessing can lead you way off track.
So how can someone listening take this and use it? What's the practical advice? One phrase used is, think like a detective.
Ooh, I like that.
It's about actively hunting for clues, talking to customers, reading online comments, really trying to visualize that ideal person. And then when you plan content, constantly asking, would this specific person actually find this useful? Interesting. Like, if you run a bike shop and know your core crowd loves mountain biking, your content needs to be trail reviews, gear tips, not just, basic commuting advice.
That detective work is absolutely key. It moves you from just guessing to actually understanding. By listening, empathizing, you make sure your content isn't just relevant, but really resonates with their specific interests and needs.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move to the second area then, making truly epic stuff or standout content. This isn't just churning things out, is it?
Yep, definitely not.
It's about creating stuff that's so valuable, so engaging, it genuinely cuts through the noise. The material compares it to, like, the difference between a regular comic book and a graphic novel you just can't put down.
That's a great way to put it. It really highlights the gap between just producing something and creating something truly impactful. It's about quality, not just quantity. Crafting content with real depth, real value. You could think about creating cornerstone content, too.
Cornerstone content.
Yeah, those big foundational pieces that really thoroughly tackle a core problem. They become a go-to resource for people, attract links, build authority over time.
Ah, okay. And the payoff for doing this, for creating that standout stuff, it seems huge. It helps you actually get noticed with all the online clutter. It builds trust, positions you as an expert. Plus, people are way more likely to share really good content, right? Which helps spread the word.
Absolutely. The benefits are all about building that authority and widening your reach. Standout content acts like a magnet, pulling in your ideal audience, making you the go-to source. And yeah, that sharing just amplifies your message organically.
Well, what if your content isn't quite epic? If it's just, yeah.
Well,
The sources suggest it just gets ignored or skipped. There's just too much else out there.
gets lost.
You struggle to stand out from competitors who are making better stuff. And people probably won't see you as reliable if your info isn't actually delivering real value.
Yeah, the consequences really show the risk of just putting out mediocre content. In today's world, information overload is real. If it doesn't offer significant value, it just disappears into the digital noise. It can even hurt your credibility, actually.
So what are the strategies? How are companies creating this standout content? A big one is focusing on answering specific customer questions, providing genuine solutions.
Value first.
Like an accounting software company, creating really in-depth guides on managing small business finances, not just selling the software, but helping.
Right.
Another key element is consistency, regularly publishing high-quality stuff, maybe a daily blog, maybe a weekly video, but reliably.
Building that expectation.
And finally, the material really stresses injecting personality, having a unique voice so the content is relatable, memorable.
These strategies all point towards value creation, reliability, and authenticity, don't they? Address audience needs, be consistent, be yourself. That's how you build stronger connections and stand out.
Okay, and the mistakes competitors make here. What should people avoid? Some fall into the trap of just being too self-promotional.
Oh, yeah. Buy our stuff.
Exactly. Just talking about how great their products are without offering any actual help. Others publish randomly, inconsistently,
Yeah.
no rhythm.
Leaving the audience hanging.
And some are just dry, really unengaging tone that just doesn't connect.
Those mistakes often show a lack of understanding of what people actually want, you know? Too much selling, being unreliable, lacking personality, it all creates a disconnect, fails to build real engagement.
So how do you aim for this standout level? The advice is to strive for content with heroic or impressive proportions.
Uh-huh. Okay. Go big.
Yeah, really aim to be the best resource on a particular topic.
Mm.
Be consistent so your audience relies on you, and let your brand's personality shine. Like if you sell toys, make your content fun.
The core message is definitely pursue excellence and be consistent. Your content should be a valuable asset for your audience, something they actually look forward to. And yeah, personality makes your brand feel human, memorable, fosters a stronger connection.
All right, solid advice. Let's move on to number 3, finding your special story angle, or your niche. Every good story has something unique, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is about identifying that specific area where you can become the go-to expert, focusing your content so it's super relevant to a particular audience and you really own that space.
This idea of a special story angle or
Well,
niche, it's so critical for standing out. In such a crowded online space, becoming that leading voice in one specific area lets you cut through the noise and attract the right audience.
and the benefits seem pretty clear. You become the resource for a certain group. It's easier to get noticed when you have that sharp focus.
Definitely.
And you're more likely to attract customers who are genuinely interested in what you specifically offer.
By positioning yourself as an authority in that niche, you build trust, you build credibility with your ideal customers, and that focused approach just makes all your marketing more efficient, more effective.
But what if you don't find that special angle? If you stay too general?
Then you risk getting lost.
Yeah, the material suggests you just blend into the huge ocean of general information online. It's hard to compete against bigger players with broader resources,
Right.
and you might attract a wide audience, but one that isn't deeply engaged with your core thing.
Exactly. Without a defined niche, your content ends up being too generic. It doesn't deeply connect with any particular group. You end up competing against everyone, which makes it really hard to build a strong, recognizable identity.
So how are companies finding their special story? What works? One approach mentioned is going small,
Interesting. How so?
really focusing on becoming the expert in a very specific area. Like the example was a local pet store, focusing all its content on, say, traveling safely with elderly pets,
Mm-hmm.
not just general pet care.
Ah, super specific. Got it.
Another way is tailoring content very precisely to the most valuable customer segments. A B2B software company might aim all its content at, say, marketing managers, specifically within the tech industry.
Laser focus.
And they also use tools like Google Trends to see what topics their audience is actually searching for, using data.
These strategies really highlight the power of focus and data-driven insights, don't they? By narrowing the scope, understanding specific needs, looking at search behavior, companies can find those underserved niches and create super relevant, impactful content.
And the mistakes competitors make here, trying to cover too much.
That's a big one. Trying to be all things to all people, it just dilutes the message, makes the content less effective.
Others ignore what their best customers actually need or care about,
Yeah, not catering to the people who offer the most potential, that's a miss.
and some just don't use data. They're not looking at what people are searching for, so they miss opportunities.
Flying blind, essentially. It's like navigating without a map or compass. You might get somewhere, but probably not where you intended.
So for someone listening, how do they figure out their special story angle?
Good question.
The advice is, think hard about what you do exceptionally well and who are your absolute ideal customers.
Okay. Strengths meet needs.
What specific questions do they keep asking? What unique perspective can you bring? Then narrow your focus. Aim to be the absolute best source within that specific niche.
Right.
Like a coffee bean company might focus on sustainable coffee sourcing,
Or
or maybe advanced home brewing techniques for coffee nerds.
finding that sweet spot, yeah. Where your unique expertise meets a genuine need or interest in your target market. That's where your special story angle lives.
Okay, great. Let's hit number 4. Planning your story schedule or the content roadmap. Even the best stories need a release schedule, right?
Absolutely. Can't just drop it all at once.
This is all about the editorial calendar. Planning out what content you're creating when you're publishing it so your audience knows what to expect and when.
That defined content calendar gives you structure, consistency. It's the roadmap, like you said, ensuring a regular flow of value to your audience.
And the benefits of having this plan seem pretty straightforward. Keeps you organized, ensures you're consistently putting stuff out there.
Mm-hmm.
Your audience starts to expect it, which builds anticipation, maybe even loyalty. And you can plan content around relevant events or themes, like seasonal content, for example.
That predictability builds trust, fosters engagement. When your audience knows when to look for new content, they're more likely to come back to actively engage. Plus, planning just helps with managing resources, coordinating the team.
But what if you don't plan? No schedule?
Chaos.
Pretty much. The sources suggest your content becomes sporadic, inconsistent, which leads to your audience disengaging.
They lose interest.
Your team might be unclear on who does what, when it's due, and you could miss timely opportunities reacting instead of planning.
Yeah, inconsistency can definitely make your audience drift away, maybe even forget about you. And no plan often means missed chances, a reactive scramble, instead of a proactive strategy.
So how are companies tackling this planning? What are the good strategies? One is aligning content with the audience's journey.
The buyer's journey.
Right. Thinking about what info people need at different stages: awareness, consideration, decision.
Makes sense. Tailoring the message.
They also use tools, spreadsheets, visual calendars, project management software to track ideas, assign tasks, set deadlines, note where it's getting published.
Getting organized.
And many develop an editorial style guide to keep the tone of the branding consistent across all content.
Crucial for brand identity. These strategies all point to a strategic, organized approach. Aligning with the customer journey, using planning tools, ensuring brand consistency, it creates a much better, more cohesive content experience.
Okay, and the mistakes. What goes wrong here? Some just create content randomly whenever inspiration hits. No real strategy behind it.
The content whenever approach. Risky.
Others have unclear roles, fuzzy deadlines, leads to confusion, delays.
Yeah, accountability matters.
And some struggle with that consistent branding and messaging across different pieces of content.
A lack of planning often leads to that disjointed, reactive feel.
Yeah.
Unclear roles, inconsistent branding, it confuses your audience, undermines your credibility.
So how can you get your own schedule sorted? The advice is basically, think like a publisher.
Okay, like a magazine editor.
Exactly. Plan your content in advance. Decide on the types: blog posts, videos, podcasts, whatever, and the frequency. Use a calendar, keep it updated.
Right.
Make sure the whole team knows the plan.
Right.
Like a bakery might plan a weekly recipe video every Friday and blog posts on seasonal ingredients every Monday. That kind of rhythm.
Setting up that clear, consistent calendar with defined roles and deadlines is essential. It's proactive, lets you manage resources well, and keep your audience consistently engaged.
All right, moving right along to number 5. Sharing your stories everywhere, letting the world know you've made this great content, but now people need to actually find it, right?
Absolutely. Creation is only half the battle, maybe less.
This is all about the content channel plan, deciding where and how to distribute your stories effectively,
Yeah.
strategically amplifying your message.
Effective distribution is just crucial. You have to reach your intended audience to maximize the impact of all that valuable content you created.
And the upside of sharing effectively, it seems huge. You reach a much wider audience, potentially pull in new customers.
Wider reach.
It helps build relationships with current customers,
Yeah.
engaging them where they already are online. And it just massively increases the chance of your content being seen, being shared further.
Yeah, wider reach, stronger engagement, more visibility, all direct results of a smart distribution strategy. Lets you amplify your message, connect broadly.
But if you don't have a solid sharing plan,
Yeah.
if you just create and hope.
Hope is not a strategy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
The sources say even brilliant content can just sit there unnoticed if it's not actively promoted.
Invisible content.
You miss chances to connect with potential customers on the platforms they actually use. And ultimately, all that effort in creating it doesn't pay off.
Without a robust distribution plan, your valuable content just risks vanishing. You miss those key touch points with your audience on their preferred channels, which really kills your ROI on content creation.
So what are effective strategies here? How are companies getting the word out? A key one is identifying where their target audience actually spends time online.
Knowing their digital hangouts.
Right. Specific social platforms, industry forums, certain blogs, focus efforts there. They also get the importance of adapting content for different platforms.
One size doesn't fit all.
Definitely not. A short, snappy video might kill it on TikTok, but you need a more in-depth article for LinkedIn maybe.
Tailoring the format and message.
And lots of companies are actively collaborating with influencers in their niche to help spread the word.
Leveraging other people's audiences, yeah. These strategies really emphasize understanding platform specifics and audience behavior, tailoring content to each channel, using influencers' highly effective ways to boost visibility and engagement.
And the common mistakes competitors make in sharing. So just post on their own website and that's it.
The build it and they will come Fallacy. Rarely works online.
Others share the exact same thing everywhere. No adaptation, just copy-paste.
Ignoring the context of each platform. Less effective.
And some completely missed collaboration opportunities. They don't reach out to others with similar audiences.
Relying only on your own website limits reach massively. Not adapting content weakens the message. And neglecting collaboration is just leaving potential audience growth on the table.
So how do you make sure your stories get heard? The advice is clear. Don't just create and pray. Figure out where your ideal customers are online. Make a specific plan to share there.
Be intentional.
Experiment with different sharing methods. See what works. And don't be shy about reaching out to others in your space for collabs. Like a travel blogger should be active in travel forums. Connect with other bloggers on social.
A proactive, multi-channel approach is essential. Understand your audience's online habits. Tailor your sharing strategy. That's how you significantly boost your content's visibility and impact.
Okay, almost there. Number 6, checking if it's working wonders. Making sure it's hitting the mark. You're doing all this work, creating, sharing. But how do you know if it's actually doing anything for the business?
Measurement. Absolutely vital.
It's all about tracking the impact. Like looking at the score in a game, right? Seeing if your efforts are paying off.
Measurement gives you the data you need to see what's working, what's not, and where you can improve. Optimize your efforts.
And the benefits of tracking results seem pretty significant. You can see which types of content actually resonate and achieve your goals.
What works?
You can pinpoint where your strategy needs tweaking. And crucially, you can show the value of content marketing to your team, to your boss, whoever needs to know.
Demonstrating that ROI, return on investment, is essential for getting continued support resources. Tracking performance gives you invaluable insights for improvement and making strategic choices.
But what if you don't track? If you just keep creating without measuring?
Flying blind again.
Yeah, sources warn you'll have no real idea if your efforts are helping your business goals. You could be wasting time, money, resources on stuff that doesn't work.
Exactly.
And it becomes really hard to justify continuing if you can't point to any actual results.
Without measurement, you're basically operating in the dark. You can't tell what's driving results or where you're falling short. Makes it impossible to make informed decisions to refine your strategy.
So how are companies tracking performance? What are they looking at? A common strategy is monitoring website traffic and engagement, using tools like Google Analytics.
Right. Page views, time on page.
Bounce rates, things like that. They also track social media engagement shares, likes, comments to see how the audience is reacting.
Gauging sentiment and reach.
And ultimately, they're trying to connect it back to leads generated and even sales. Did the content contribute?
Those metrics give you crucial insights into audience behavior and the impact on actual business outcomes. Website analytics show interaction, social metrics show reaction, and tracking leads and sales shows the direct business value. And beyond Google Analytics, there are specialized social media tools, CRM integrations too.
Okay, and the mistakes competitors make with measurement. Some just don't track anything at all.
Ignoring the data completely, big mistake.
Others focus on what the material calls vanity metrics, like just chasing likes, which don't always mean business results.
Yeah, likes don't pay the bills usually.
And some collect data, but then they don't actually use it to inform what they do next. The data just sits there.
Ignoring metrics is a huge missed opportunity to learn. Focusing only on vanity metrics gives a false sense of success, and not acting on the data you collect means you're not leveraging insights to get better.
So how do you make sure your stories are actually hitting the mark? The advice: pay attention to your analytics. Use website analytics, social media insights, understand performance.
Dig into the numbers.
Track key things: visits, time spent, shares, and importantly, leads or sales influenced by content. Use that data to make future content better. Like if your how-to videos are killing it and bringing in leads, make more how-to videos.
Regularly analyzing that performance data is key. Spot trends, understand what resonates, use those insights to constantly refine your strategy for maximum effect, maximum impact on your business goals.
Okay, last one, number 7, keeping your stories fresh and fun. Making sure the magic doesn't fade. Like any great story, it needs to evolve, right? New chapters, new twists.
Absolutely. Your content approach needs to adapt too. Stay engaging long term.
This is all about making sure your content stays interesting, relevant, as audience needs shift and the world changes.
In today's fast-moving digital world, keeping things fresh, fostering innovation in your content, it's crucial for keeping that audience engaged and staying relevant over time.
And the benefits seem pretty clear. You keep your audience's attention, stop them getting bored.
fight the fatigue.
You can explore new topics, new formats that might work even better, and it helps you stay ahead of competitors, maintain that thought leader position.
Continuous innovation lets you adapt to changing preferences, new trends. It keeps your content compelling, helps you stand out.
But what if you let things get stale, predictable?
Audience tunes out.
Yeah, the sources suggest your audience might just lose interest, stop paying attention.
Yeah.
You can miss out on connecting through new platforms or formats that pop up.
Right, like missing the boat on video or podcasts if you only do text.
And competitors who are trying new things might just overtake you.
Stagnant content definitely leads to audience fatigue, disengagement, and failing to explore new things can limit your reach, limit your relevance in the long run.
So how are companies keeping it fresh? What works? One way is experimenting with different content types.
Trying new things.
Videos, podcasts, interactive quizzes, infographics, you name it. They also actively ask their audience for feedback, for ideas on what content they want.
Listening to the audience. Smart.
And they're always looking for new angles, fresh perspectives, even on familiar topics.
Experimentation, listening, seeking fresh perspectives, those are the key drivers for content evolution. Trying new formats, using audience feedback, finding novel angles keeps things engaging, relevant.
And the mistakes competitors make here, some just stick to the same old formats forever, even if they're not working so well anymore.
Afraid to change.
Others ignore really valuable feedback and suggestions from their audience.
Not listening.
And some just repeat the same messages over and over, nothing new or exciting.
Resisting change, ignoring feedback, common pitfalls. Sticking to old formats, repeating messages leads to boredom, falling engagement.
So how do you keep that content magic alive long term? The advice is, don't be afraid to try new stuff. Step outside the comfort zone.
Be brave.
Actively ask your audience what they want to see. Stay plugged into trends in your industry and the digital world generally. Be willing to adapt as your business changes, as audience needs change.
Right.
Like if you've only ever done blog posts, maybe it's time to explore launching a podcast or doing some short videos.
Embrace experimentation. Have that agile mindset. Continuously seek input. Stay informed. Being willing to adapt, to innovate is absolutely crucial for long-term content marketing success and keeping that audience engaged.
And there we have it. The 7 key areas, the sort of super steps for creating content that really connects and hopefully drives results.
Yeah.
Remember, it boils down to understand your audience, make great stuff, find your angle, plan it out, share it well, measure it, and keep it fresh.
And if you synthesize all that, the big idea is building this customer-focused storytelling engine, isn't it? Deeply understand the audience. Craft compelling stories. Focus the message. Plan consistently. Distribute strategically. Measure diligently. And always adapt and innovate. That builds the powerful connection that leads to real business outcomes.
Absolutely. Know who you're talking to, create standout content, find your unique perspective, have a plan, share it effectively, track progress, and always evolve. Do that, and you're well on your way to building a loyal following, becoming a storytelling powerhouse.
And it's a journey, right? A continuous process of learning, refining. Each of these 7 areas feeds into the others. It's a positive feedback loop for ongoing improvement, deeper engagement.
Definitely. So, as everyone listening reflects on this deep dive today, maybe consider this.
Yeah.
Which one of these 7 areas jumps out as the most immediate opportunity for you? Where can you focus right now to strengthen that connection with your audience through compelling content?
That's the perfect place to start. Identify where you can make the biggest difference quickly and begin applying these principles. Start crafting those engaging stories that will resonate and ultimately help your business grow and succeed.
You know, it's always a bit of a puzzle for any business, isn't it? How do you really connect to the people who matter? How do you get beyond just selling things and actually build something, well, real?
Exactly. And well, today we've got some ideas that could act like a key, really, unlocking that deeper engagement and, ultimately a stronger business.
We're diving into the world of content marketing.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how just taking the time to thoughtfully create and share information stories, you could call them, how that can build genuine relationships. It's often in a way that traditional advertising just can't quite manage.
Totally agree. And we've got a great framework to explore today, 7 key areas, really distilled from some sharp thinking on content marketing. Think of them as super steps, maybe.
Super steps. I like that. Okay.
So we'll be looking at, first, knowing your awesome audience, really getting who you're talking to.
Crucial.
Then, making truly epic stuff, crafting content that actually grabs attention and gives value. Third, finding your special story, figuring out your unique angle, your niche.
Right, standing out.
Fourth, planning your story schedule like setting up a consistent content calendar.
Keeps things rolling.
Fifth, sharing your stories everywhere, getting your content seen by the right people.
Can't just create it, gotta share it.
Sixth, checking if it's working wonders, measuring the impact, seeing if it's actually doing anything.